Hello, everyone out on the internets. This is Matthew Noble, and I am attempting a kind of TESOL 2016 workshop presentation redux and a little bit of commentary or just revisiting the conference presentation that I did with Stephanie Burns. We are both CELTA trainers. Stephanie is the director of the CELTA program here at ELS Tacoma, and I'm the academic director and a trainer on all of the courses that we run here. And we went to TESOL 2016 in Baltimore at the beginning of this month, and we had a great time giving this presentation. And I thought I'd follow it up with this sort of thing in order to share what we did there with people on the internets. We had about 25 people in attendance, which we were very happy with, especially seeing as we were in a room that was in the far off corners of the TESOL Convention Center universe. So it was great. And we were really happy with the results of the experience. We thought it went quite well. So I wanted to share what that is, what it was, and what it is. What is Pardon the Correction? So Pardon the Correction, meeting students' needs with and expectations with confidence. So students have needs and they have expectations. We want to meet them. We want to do it confidently. This is about correction and corrective feedback, and it can be quite difficult for teachers to have confidence in this area. As CELTA trainers working with mainly inexperienced novice teachers, people just entering the classroom, it's an area of lots of doubt, anxiety, questioning, and mystery, and often some sort of negativity. So the focus here is not necessarily to delve extremely deeply into the intricacies of corrective feedback and its role in second language acquisition, which is very, been a hot topic, or simply presenting the list of easily identifiable corrective feedback techniques that is presented in the literature, but to really allow, as we try to do with CELTA trainees on the course, just allow people to enter into the experience and reflect on the potentials and possibilities and problems that we experience as teachers in the classroom around this stuff in particular. Yeah, so here we go. I'm going to try to make it about 10 minutes. So get out your popcorn. All right, let me try to change a slide. Yeah, there we go. So just a bit of commentary on this slide. What we did in the workshop presentation was jump right in. On every chair there was a card. Half of them were teachers and half of them were students, and participants had a yellow or an orange card and took on that role and tried, sort of played out some classroom style events where a so-called error was made and a so-called correction was given. Basically, this is the kind of thing that we might do in an input session on the CELTA, which in the sort of loop input style reflects an approach to a lesson shape or a lesson framework called test, teach, test, or otherwise known as task, teach, task, where you allow the learners to jump right in and do the thing, and so you can really get a sense of where they're at. They can jump into a thing which is very exciting to do, and without having been talked at or presented to, and it was nice. People really did jump into it. Of course, teachers are all familiar with these interactions, and a lot of action happened in the room there. The student role had an error on it, and we tried to include on these cards lexical errors like he told that he is hungry, told versus said, sort of common error, things like, will you borrow me your car, or I have 28 years for age. Pronunciation things like he leaves in the large house, or the sofa is very comfortable. This is a developed country sort of thing. And then structural grammatical type errors like it's rained today, or today hotter yesterday, or my friend like Seattle, third person singular S being omitted. And of course that may be a phonological issue too. And no matter, we're not concerned with categorizing things. There are errors made, no matter what we want to call them or categorize them. That's sort of the raw material of the learner language, the interlanguage that is sort of live in the room, which is great. So we asked the learners, well, first in the presentation we asked the participants how they felt in their role as learners, to really channel their perception of what went on in your experience. Did you like being corrected? How did you feel being corrected? And how do you think you feel generally about teachers giving you this kind of immediate, direct feedback? And everyone basically said, oh, good, that was okay. Then we present some of the sort of representative results of a survey that we did of learners, asking them, do you want your teachers to correct your speaking in class more? So here are some of the learners' responses to that in their own words, in their own handwriting. As you can see, number 1 and 2 really foreground to highlight the idea that learners find it crucial and important. And the second 2 show that learners actually connect it to the learning process, and that they have more to say than simply that's good, but they actually have really interesting things to say. For example, I think very interestingly, the third quote connects corrective feedback and correction with fluency, which is somewhat different than we might tend to connect it to accuracy. And the fourth one, I really like this quote. Probably speed up the learning, so it's connection between the efficiency of instruction and learning from the student's point of view. So when we're talking about error, we mentioned this in the presentation, but the word error is sort of uncool these days. We're obviously aware of that. Corrective feedback is what sort of we should be saying, but I think it's important that we don't that language, the sort of older versions of the things, the language that we use to talk about our world, doesn't dictate the way we think about it, and I think there's a history to this stuff that is important to be aware of, and the word error has been used for years. So we use these things interchangeably: error, opportunity, affordances, and all of this stuff that sort of Diane Larson Freeman talks about, and she attempts to shift the language of talking about teaching. Adrian Underhill and Julian Edge are two people that have always insisted on the positivity, positive attitude, positive perspective on what learner error and mistakes mean for the process. And one useful way to look at error's role is that it's highly developmental, and that therefore feedback and correction is a crucial part of that. In the skills acquisition framework, the 4-step ladder, sometimes known as Gordon's ladder, is one way to look at it, where you can place the role of correction at that red arrow, where the teacher is helping the learners to get their inert knowledge activated and operationalized in action, in the flow of interactive conversations, so that they can bring what they know about English into the realm of what they know to do in English. And it's a slow and and sometimes painful process, not unlike riding a bicycle, but the role of the teacher, the trainer, the father, the mother who's helping us learn to ride a bike is to slowly start out with highly scaffolding the process, doing lots of error correction, basically holding the bicycle and then slowly letting go. So that's one way to look at it. Sometimes this is known as this unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then finally the top level is unconscious competence, which is being able to do something without thinking about it at all, which is ultimately finally the goal of the language learner's target language use. We also asked teachers about error correction. These are some of the types of things that they said, and we found that there were essentially three main threads of teachers from the teacher's perspective. One was that teachers were very concerned about hurting the students, having a negative experience, or hurting the students' feelings with correction, losing confidence, shutting down. This is, I think, something that's very, very common. The problem of interrupting communication in the classroom. There's a clear idea that flow needs to be maintained, fluency needs to be, I think these things are connected. You don't want to harm what is perceived to be the necessary space, time, and sort of acceptance of the student's language. And then finally, simply the difficulty of doing it, of knowing when, how, why, what, to whom, where, and all of that. I think the last one is interesting too. It's maybe connected to the student, the teacher's ability to confidently back up what they say. So maybe there's a language awareness aspect. I only have 15 minutes on my Screencast-O-Matic, so I may be rushing here. So clearly there's a gap between what students feel and think about correction and what teachers often perceive about what students think about error correction and what they feel about error correction themselves. So if we find out that the learners, and perhaps by asking them about the role of error correction in the classroom, and they say something like, yes, I want to be corrected because I can learn from what I'm doing wrong, what should we do? The simple answer is give them more error correction. So here's the familiar list. We didn't want to make a list because we want to express the sense of that it's not a list that we choose from in sort of online processing of a teacher in the classroom. We don't go and select from a list. We're responding in the immediate sphere to learners' errors very quickly, using a lot of perceptual processing that doesn't include selecting having the time and the opportunities to select the appropriate error correction technique from a list. So it's more of a circle, and in the middle there's something about body and something sort of extra-linguistic or sub-linguistic that is, I think, always in there and rarely is acknowledged in the literature. And these things are all sort of connected and balled up. So we, in the presentation, we gave a demonstration of each one of these, and they were not all successful in the presentation, and sort of gave a sense that about certain error correction techniques, and the less explicit ones usually don't necessarily land. I have 30 seconds left on my 15 minutes, so I'm going to make video number 2 here, and it'll be longer than I expected. But if you care to continue, check out the part 2 of this Pardon the Correction Redux, and we'll start right where we left off here. Peace!